Hi, I'm Vernice Tantuco, a lifestyle and entertainment reporter for Rappler.com, and today we're learning more about face reading with Dadhichi Toth from astrology.com.au. Hi Dadhichi, how are you?
Very well. Thanks for having me on.
All right, can you tell us a bit about face reading? What, for those of our viewers who are just coming across it, what is it exactly?
Well, it's an ancient tradition of understanding character and destiny through the different facial structure and nuances of the face. It's very, very old. It has traditions in China, in India, and in the West. But more recently, people are cottoning onto it as a way to understand their employees, their relationships, and their social sort of friends, that type of thing.
So your facial features can say things about you, your personality?
Yes, well, there's really three aspects to it. There's the actual structure of the face, which of course is tied in genetically. We're hardwired in certain ways. The second aspect is the fact that we have at least 7,000 expressions that we can make. So different expressions give us an insight into people. And the third one is like an intuitive response, understanding a person through just a direct communication and insight.
And I'm sure you have a lot of people who believe in it as well, but then I'm sure you also get a lot of people who are skeptical about it. What do you say to them?
A lot of people are skeptical about the Earth being round. There's a flat Earth group too. There's a lot of scientific research now into the fact that our genetic makeup, the way we're hardwired, reflects in our face. And medicine too now has quite a bit of insight into the changes that occur due to biological changes within us. They can be exhibited in the face. Different complexion, colouring, for example, Graves' disease, bulging eyes, thyroid problems show in the eyes, hepatitis shows in the eyes, so on and so forth. Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to have you demonstrate for us today on our three models. We have three guests with us here today, Lauren, Tiffy, and Chino. Dadhichi has seen their pictures before, just so he could study them a little bit. But now we're going to start with Lauren. What can we know about her?
Well, with Lauren, what I see here is, firstly, she has somewhat of a round face. This shows us a person who has an emotional temperament. But if you were to trace the outline here, there's a slight diamond shape. So what it shows is in your relationships at times, you're a little bit hard to please. You have a very, very high standard, right? That's not a bad thing. I mean, you need to have a high standard, but you also need to know when, it's a bit too high. It's like the high jumper. You're not going to get over that. So it's a good idea to have a balance there. What I noticed also, a marker of health, speaking of health, the hair, and particularly the eyebrows, tells us a lot about the health. And when the eyebrows, as in your case, taper off a little bit or a little bit sparse, then health can be an issue. You can be a little bit delicate in your health. So you really need to rest a lot, have proper nutritious food, don't skip meals, don't, have only 2 hours a night's sleep, because that will start to impact upon you. Fortunately, the other marker of health are these lines here. Just as in palm reading we have the lifeline, in face reading, these are called, in Chinese face reading, they call this Fa Ling. So if you've got deeply etched lines here, that's a good marker of health and vitality. Because we mentioned the diamond shape here, we said that the bottom portion of the face is a little bit weak in comparison to the upper part. So that also tells us that the stamina, you've got strong desire to get things done, but at times you don't give yourself the requisite energy to finish things. So you need to rest, you need to know your limits there. The other thing I was going to suggest too is that you have a very, very idealistic mind. This part of the face shows us the intellection, the thinking, the idealism of the person. And also here, this middle portion of the forehead is the memory. You've got an incredible memory, but sometimes you remember things that are of no use to you. They bother you. Yeah, round and round in circles over the little details. Sometimes someone will say something to you and you latch onto that and you, why did he say that? So you need to learn to just let things go. You got it? Next year is going to be very, very lucky for you. In fact, this period right now, I see there's some changes for you in your property or your residential situation. This cycle began around 2 years ago. So right now also, there's some changes going on there. And this is also shown by the very pronounced under eye here and this portion above the eyes. Problems with families are shown when the eyebrows here stick up, just here. They're going boop, boop. So that could show you might have a little bit of contention there over this very issue that I'm talking about now, which is how you're going to acquire.
Question.
Yes.
You're talking about eyebrows, but
Yes.
a lot of girls, well,
Pluck their eyebrows.
yeah, exactly. How does that work?
It's
like,
funny because
you can change the shape.
Yeah, but you can, but sometimes people will shape their face in precisely a way that people react to that in a specific manner. Okay, people do react to the face in certain ways. For example, speaking about eyebrows, have you ever seen men that have that single eyebrow?
Mm-hmm.
That actually unconsciously scares people. It's a throwback to caveman days when, you know, the primitive sort of look. So I recommend to businessmen especially who have that to pluck that out, even if they're men, because that frees up a lot of the energy and then people automatically relax with them. So you're right, the perception of different features has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah, so you can change your face to reflect how you want
Correct.
to look.
It's a bit harder, especially if we're talking about cosmetic surgery. A lot of people now have cosmetic surgery. That's a difficult one. It's very hard to change the eyes, the iris, because this gives a lot of information. You can normally tell when someone's had cosmetic surgery. I usually use Michael Jackson as an example, who really thinned his nose out. That's when a lot of his health troubles started, because this is the first point of impact for oxygen into the lungs. So if you start to narrow that, of course you're not getting as much oxygen into your system. But as far as the perception of other people, yeah, it becomes difficult. The eyes, however, are very hard. You can't have an eye transplant.
Makeup even, like just things we do every day, that changes your face as well.
It can. For example, the higher cheekbones, especially if they're very pronounced, that's a mark of ruthlessness. So I say to women, don't over-accentuate this part, because people unconsciously feel a little bit concerned. That's a mark of power, status, authority. And
unless you want to give off that.
Unless you want to give that off.
Yeah.
If you're a woman going into a boardroom with a whole bunch of men, then you want to exert your authority over those men. So maybe you would sort of put a bit of shadow here, accentuate that a little bit more. Maybe put that extra eyebrow on them. Just check.
All right. Let's move on with Lauren.
Lauren. Oh, Lauren. Okay, sorry, I'm getting a bit confused. I was just getting caught up in the high cheekbones. So I was just saying to you, this period is very much one where you're going to be focused on property matters, independence, and I have the feeling for you beginning next year, there are some changes in terms of where you live, in terms of the country that you live in. So there may actually be some journeys starting in this next cycle. It could be a relocation of your home to another country, another province, or some big change anyhow will be coming for you next year. I hope you like that reading.
How are you feeling? I saw you swatted Tiffy a while ago. What was that about?
We always talk about moving houses.
Yeah.
And it's always been in the plans.
It's been a bit difficult for you though.
Yeah.
Because right now, if I can just jump a little to the astrology, because the face really is a representation of the planets. The last 2 years you've had Saturn moving in this area relating to your property, and that's shown also in this under eye. So the desire is there, but you've got a lot of obstructions, a lot of issues. And when Mars is in this position, it can show that there's obstruction through siblings or some of the relatives, you see. They may not particularly agree with what it is you want, so you have to, work on some sort of conciliatory method to make this happen. But I'd say by the middle of January next year, 2017, you'll see the energy is much freer, much more open, easier for you.
Okay.
These obstructions are also shown by some of the blemishes that we get from time to time on the face. You were asking about that. Apart from the structure of the face, the way we're born with certain things, of course, little pimples pop up here and there. That can also be very, very telling at different times. And here we see, generally your face looks pretty clear, but here there are a few blemishes, and this is the mid-20s, because there's 100 points on the face. So we can actually tune in to a specific year of life. The eyebrows start the 30, late 20s, and then the 30s are shown by the
So-
eyes themselves.
So what exactly do you look for when you look at a face?
Well, of course, there's a lot of things. You can't just isolate one feature. That's why I said you've got to use a bit of intuition with this. But when you look at the skin, it should be blemish-free, it should be clear, it should have a nice tone, shining, clear, good colour. The eyes should have what we call glitter or sparkle, and there are different types of glitter as well. For example, you can find great businessmen have what we call controlled glitter, very sharp and controlled. Artistic people have very bright glitter, but it's what's called diffused. It's a little diffused. You can find madmen like Charles Manson, who was a mass murderer. Very powerful, sharp glitter, but it's uncontrolled. So that's why I say the eyes you can't easily change, even if you can put a lot of looking at the eyes, we can see the kindness of the person. We can also tell how interested in us a person is. Did you know that? For example, when you go to the casino, do you know why they wear sunglasses at midnight? Because they know that as soon as they've got a good hand, the pupils open up. And the other person, he's got a good hand. So they cover that. Also, when you meet a guy or you meet a girl, if you're sitting at the bar and you can see and the pupils open up, got him. He likes me. Because that's a chemical reaction that's taking place in the brain. When a person is disinterested, the pupils will shrink. The body language will tell you also, but from the pupils you can tell. And that is why in the casinos, the gamblers wear sunglasses. They do not want to give away those signals. In the medieval times, they used to have what's called a collyrium stick, and they'd have this drops, and it would open up the pupil so that the men would be more attracted to them. Babies as well, if you have a look at babies, babies have huge pupils.
Yeah.
That's why mothers are always staring at them. And they've done scientific studies on that. It's the pupils. People are attracted to large pupils.
I have a question for Lauren, actually. What were you thinking when you went into this, when I invited you over to get your face read?
Oh, I always found stuff like this interesting. Like I've always wanted to like get my hand read or like
really?
my face read, but I never like went. So
And how do you feel now afterwards?
well, it is interesting. There's some stuff that you said that you know I can relate.
Was
to.
it, do you feel like it was accurate or?
Somewhat, maybe.
Okay.
Somewhat accurate.
And how about, okay, I think we should move on to Tiffy.
Can
How
I
are
get
you?
can I get you to swap? Or is that going to be too difficult?
Oh
I'm
yeah,
just-
sure.
Can I get you to swap seats? Then I can have a closer look.
Okay.
Tiffy. I
Hello.
love that name, Tiffy.
Oh, oops. Oh my
Hi,
So
Tiffy.
does the distance from a person's face,
It's
Is
good
it
to get
important?
close up, then I can see. You know, traditionally speaking, it's good to remove all the makeup,
yeah.
they say, but it's okay, they should have the hair back. And that's
How are you feeling, Tiffy, after Lauren?
I don't know, kind of same as Lauren. Going into this, we both have talked about doing something like this for years. So it's very interesting to actually be here. And I do agree with her. There were some things that you were saying about her that was kind of making me giggle because it was.
It's very interesting. They've just told me they're very good friends.
Yeah.
And if you look at their horoscopes, the lunar position is identical. So they have similar things happening, especially in terms of this property and housing and that sort of thing. But
Okay.
for you, the first thing that stood out is that you have very lovely,
Yes, I do.
beautiful cheekbones. The cheekbones actually are a measure of sociability.
Okay.
So you do love people.
Okay.
You do like them. I see that.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, it doesn't show up a lot. Your right eye, just now, see under the eye there? There's a little bit of white showing. You don't have it under both eyes. This is called in the Japanese system sampaku. Sampaku usually is a marking of a very spiritual person, someone who has depth to their feeling. However, sometimes there's inner restlessness.
Okay.
And what I see also, this left and right eye relate to the mother and the father. In your case, when you were born, Saturn and the moon were in what we call hard aspect. And moon is mother. So you have some, what I would call karma. You've got some real deeply enmeshed emotional stuff you've got to work through with mama. You got it? That part. Once you work through that, I've got a feeling, especially after your 36th or 37th year,
Okay.
you will start to feel a lot freer in that sense. Same thing that I said to Lauren, the lower part of your face here is a little bit weak, your top heavy here, so you also have to be very careful of the food that you eat. You must eat nutritious food, and it's better for you to eat smaller meals more regularly.
Okay.
For you also, I get the sense there's some possible allergic reactions to dairy products, which you have to be very careful of. Correct?
Is that true?
Yeah.
What are you allergic to?
Milk.
I'm allergic. I used to be lactose intolerant.
you are
actually. Yeah. But then my mom used to make me drink lactose intolerant milk, which I didn't like. So they kind of weaned me back to dairy, but I still can't eat a lot of it.
No, that stuff, apart from affecting your physical health,
Okay.
will affect your moods. It's better to get almond milk.
I love cheese though.
What can I do? I'm just the messenger. The other thing, what was that? Sorry.
Sorry, I have
Yes.
a question.
Sure.
Is it possible that, it's totally possible that you could have just researched this? Or
Anything's possible.
could have found out that she was lactose intolerant.
Yeah, it's pretty hard when you're driving 3 hours from
But
Batangas.
people must ask that a lot. Especially now with the internet.
Well, what I normally say is here, have a look at 30 years of my newspaper clippings, predictions for politicians, the Queen, for famous people before the event. History is the best judge of what you've done, and anyone can see. Look, we're all human. I never claim to be sort of 100%.
Yeah.
We have some hits, we have some misses. The other thing, you got to save your money more.
Okay.
Hold on to your money more. You give your money away.
Okay.
Don't give it away.
Okay.
See,
Do you feel like you do?
I don't feel like I do, but
Don't
okay.
don't be too generous with your money. Generally, as a rule of thumb, the nostrils shouldn't be too visible, because the Chinese astrologers say this here is the bank account.
Okay.
This is the bank balance. You've got a nice sized nose. A lot of women don't like having a nice sized nose, but it's actually a good marker of savings, earnings. It's rather earnings, and the nostrils, if they're exposed, means that the money comes out. People give the money away.
Yeah.
So you need to be a little bit cautious.
Okay.
You do like to help people, so just be careful. The other marker of money is the earlobes here. So when you see a person with good earlobes, that's usually a marking of a good bank balance. And there's a little notch in here, which you probably know of. See here, this is where we have to balance it. Here it shows she spends the money. If you can fit your finger into this notch, it shows the person's very, very generous. In her case, you can't. So this is where you
Try it,
balance.
Tiffany.
I can.
No, just this little notch here.
Here?
Just there. You see that little notch there?
Can you show?
I do.
Just here, there's a little notch.
have a
Yeah.
notch here.
And so, folks out there, wherever you are, if you've got someone you know, you're meeting a man for the first time, take a look at the ear notch. Is it a big ear notch? Then he'll be very generous with his money. If he's got a tight ear notch, then he's tight with his money.
Okay.
Okay?
So,
One thing I wanted to say to you, you have a slightly asymmetrical lifelines here. This one here is strong. This one here is a little bit weak. There's a little mark here, which is just above this. These marks here rule the 57th and 58th year of life. So this period of your life, there may be a little bit of a health thing. Get off the cheese, because I've got a feeling that could be a long-term thing that happens. Little blemish forming here is very lucky for you. This one here. That's actually good for achieving notoriety and for winning the respect of people above you. So just recently, if this mark has just appeared, you will be making an impression on your employers right now, believe it or not.
okay.
This is good.
It's good.
Do you have any questions?
No.
How are you? Are you okay?
Yeah. Very interesting.
Did you feel like it was pretty accurate? Or
I think so, but let's see.
She's not clear on the money side of things, but this is where there are usually a few different things you have to look at. Apart from the nose, we've got the ear notch here. We have to look at the quality of the eyes. This sampaku shows, this is the
Oh, yeah,
whites
the
under there.
whites.
You have to just daily, if you can, just do a little bit of meditation and find peace within yourself. I think you do worry about those family members in an overly sort of exaggerated way, and that does tend to drag you down a little bit from your dreams. You want to go ahead, but you sort of, should I go ahead? Got it?
I have a question.
Sure.
Tiffy and Lauren, they both have sisters. Yeah.
Oh, right.
And I was wondering, what if, how does face reading work if you have siblings, or even if you have a twin, and so your features are kind of similar?
Well, the eyebrows, as I said earlier, are ruled by Mars, and these rule the siblings. Do you have a scar here? Do you have a scar? No. What I've found is if there's a scar here, and that's usually around the 33rd, 34th year, that does cause problems with siblings. So we can even see the nature of the relationship with siblings.
Oh, I mean, if you have, for example, twins who look very similar, they have very similar features.
Yes.
Wouldn't their reading also be similar?
There will be subtle nuances, even in terms of, there's an X factor, which is not just the shape or the color of the feature, but the eyes. You'll see there's a look, there's a certain quality to the person. That's the intuitive component of face reading, that you can't read that in books. You have to be really open and receptive to what the eyes reveal to you, what they say about a person. That's an intuitive feeling that you get about
Wouldn't that be a little bit subjective then? Depending on who
Of
is
course,
reading.
but then if it's correct, then it's correct. And that's all we want. We want to be correct, don't we?
All right, let's move on to Chino.
Can
then.
I
Do
get you up
wanna
here, Chino?
move?
Sure. I'm going to have a look
All right.
at Chino. Now, with Chino, I just got this feeling about Chino, which was amazing.
Oh,
Actually.
thank you. That's
No,
Chino, are you ready for that?
You know, sometimes there are people, you hear about famous film stars and that who, then years earlier, people were in school with them and said, oh, what did you think of it? They said, well, we didn't think much of him. We're quite surprised that he attained this. I get the feeling Chino has, Chino is like a sleeping giant.
okay.
And it does show me you have some extraordinary opportunity professionally in the either the visual arts or some electronics or computing. I get the feeling you're inventive. You have visions of what you can do. Does this make any sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah, so I get the feeling Chino is a little bit emotionally repressed. Sometimes he doesn't believe. No, I don't mean emotionally. I think you're repressed in terms of, should I unleash the tiger on the world?
So you think there's a tiger in you?
I think there is, but I don't think you've yet realized that, you see. Let me tell you another thing. Chino has a very interesting eyebrow here. The Chinese call this a wedge-shaped eyebrow. The wedge-shaped eyebrow can find a mess and clean it up and make something fantastic out of it.
Okay.
Executives, for example, that have the wedge-shaped eyebrow, like Chino, can come into a business that is faltering and really pull the whole thing together and make it something. So I think you like the idea of taking something and really building it up and making it fantastic, right?
Yes.
That's something that are you doing filming, photography? What's your background?
Oh, I'm not. I'm
what
not filming or anything.
What are you doing?
I'm in HR, human resources.
Wow, because there's a technical aspect to Chino,
Okay.
like computing or programming or something in that area. Maybe it's some technical system you'll devise or work with in the specific field that you're in. But that may start to happen by around 2018-19.
Okay.
At that time, I get the feeling there's some big changes. 2020, 21, 22, these are the periods when you start to make your money. Up until then, you're feeling a little bit closed off.
How do you know what ages that the things are going to happen?
Well, you can see from the face here, this is his age. Here you see there's a nice lift in the part between the eyebrows here. This has got a lot of power. This also shows an observer of human nature. So maybe that's where you get your HR. Also the ears. When the ears are large, the person, see, he doesn't show this. He's a dominant character, but he's yet waiting for the right opportunity to jump out. Large, you look at the Pope, you look at major business moguls, they always have big ears. So you've got reasonably large ears and they sit up very high here. So you are an ambitious person, I think. Quietly so, right?
Oh, thank you. So I can be like the Pope then.
You are, depending on how
I mean, you
religious you
compare
are.
me to the Pope.
I'm just saying, people that rule the domain that they're in, the power brokers of the world, usually have pretty large ears. They are dominant personalities, and we call them the commanders. So Chino's not yet in that position, I don't think, are you?
Perhaps not.
No, but you will be.
Oh, thank you.
That's the point that I'm making. And he is a man of few words. See the lips? They're a little bit pursed. That shows that he's cautious about what he says to people. He doesn't always offer his opinion straight away, I don't think, correct?
Correct.
You just sit back, just watch how they play. If I'm asked, I'll say my piece. So in that sense, these lips also show a little bit of power, along with the ears and the eyes. The eyes are showing me just, you need to pull your plan together at this time. And you can do that with the eyebrows. The eyebrows are ruling 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. All this area here. Oh, you're getting sleepy. So these are the power years. There's one thing I would caution you against. There's a little tiny mark on Chino's nose. Do you know that little mark?
Like,
little mark
I
there?
can't see it though.
You can't, but it's there. When there's a mark or a blemish on the nose, and your nose is a little bit blemished, I have found about 95% of the people like to gamble.
Gamble.
They like to take risk.
Oh.
So at this age,
Okay.
which is around 42, 43, you may take some big gamble in life at that time. Fortunately, it's not a big mole or anything, but you could lose a little bit of money if you're not careful at that time. You don't gamble, you're not a casino boy. I don't think so.
No, I'm a good boy.
No, I think he's okay like that.
What if he decides to get it surgically removed?
Well, that can remove that.
Then he won't be. Then
That
it
can
won't
ref-
happen.
As I
anymore.
said earlier, sometimes it's the way people perceive you that cause events to happen as well. That's a good point for research, actually. And I am looking into how facial surgery, cosmetic surgery can affect what happens. As using Michael Jackson again as an example, we see that has happened.
Have you ever had someone come in for a reading and then, because of that reading, change how they looked?
I have quite a few Middle Eastern girls. I had one I remember. She had a very banana nose. She had a very big nose. It was destroying her social life. She had that surgically changed. She came back to me 3 or 4 years later. She was married. She looked beautiful in the sense that we think of people as beautiful. I said, has it helped? She said, no doubt about it. She said, not only has it changed my own self-awareness, but the way people perceive me has changed. I met a good man. I'm married now. So absolutely, it can change your destiny.
All right.
I'm not going to read you, don't worry.
Okay.
You're looking at me going,
So are we done with Chino?
do you have any questions? Chino?
Well, what do you mean by a tiger? Like,
Just
can it be a different animal?
what I'd say to people is that the whole reason we do this is to understand others and primarily to understand ourselves. If we understand ourselves and we understand others, we can then empower ourselves. We can find those things in ourselves which are going to give us the lift up to the success that we want.
Okay.
Most people, unfortunately, don't really know what they want to do. So I always say there's really 2 main questions. Who and what? Who am I? And what am I here for? What am I going to do with my life? So that's the sole purpose, really, of this, to help us understand who we are, what our gifts are, and what it is we're here to do and to contribute to the world around us.
What if are there people who have thought, well, I don't want to know what my future is, or
Correct.
something like that?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I have a couple of sons. They never want to know. Don't tell me anything. Don't tell me. In India, there are some places there where the history of everyone has been written. just from your thumbprint, they'll pull out these 3,000-year-old palm leaves, which outline all the names of your family, your name, your mother's name, your father's name, your husband's name, the date you were born. All, you don't tell them anything, just your thumbprint.
Yeah.
It's all written there. Millions of these leaves. So I've taken a few skeptics there as well. I've even taken political people, senators and things like that who didn't believe this. I've taken them there. They've just been astounded. Thumbprint, all the history is written there.
Chino, how do you feel after being read?
Well,
Or what did you think before when I invited you to
you
this?
invited me, I was a bit confused. You said, like, face reading, what's that? And then Sir says, I'm a tiger. So
If with Chino, see, this is a perfect example of someone that comes to an astrologer or a face reader, what are they going to get out of that? If the astrologer can somehow remove some of the fears or self-doubts and encourage them that they have some power, that can really, you know what, I believe him, I think I can do this. So it sets up a whole new mind pattern, a whole new system of thinking. The software can affect the hardware, did you know that? Thinking is just chemical processes. What they're finding now scientifically is that if you continue along a pattern of thinking, it actually changes the grey stuff in the brain, the brain itself. So if I've been able to give you if I've been able to open the cage for the tiger, then I've done my job today.
Chino, do you feel like you have a tiger hidden inside of
yes.
It does. Now or before? I think you've always felt that there's something there.
I felt like there's something in me.
Yes.
And this is like confirming it.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you guys tell us what you thought of the face reading. Thank you for watching. I'm Vernice Tantuco for Rappler.